We'll do some very quick introductions and get right into the meat of the presentation today. We're going to keep it to 30 minutes, which will allow us plenty of time for questions following the material that we have for you today. This is the first in a short series of webinars where we'll be addressing customer acquisition in the venture-backed startup environment. We're going to talk about some real tactics that we have seen proven results for, and also the methods used for tracking, reporting those results in a way that can be helpful for both the CEOs and their VCs. So with that, I'm going to introduce Marc Phillips. Marc, hello today.
Ray, I'm well. Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. How are you? Thanks for joining. It's not often that I get to do a webinar around some online customer acquisition because, you know, I'm usually looking after, alongside Ray, hundreds of large clients around the world. I'm based here in Palo Alto. Ray's in New York City. We've worked together for about 7-8 years now. I started SearchForecast in 2002, principally to help clients understand Google and particularly build compliant websites for Google. And who would have known so many years ago that, you know, Google would become such a dominant power. So today I'm going to give you a bit of an insight into some of our clients, how they work. Some of you on the call will know that I also run a $15 million venture fund that invests in startups, particularly in software. And here's some of those companies. I'm actively involved in those companies, helping not only with the financing, but definitely the online lead generation, the online marketing. So today it's a two-pronged approach. I'm going to talk to you from some of the perspectives of a practitioner, and also from sitting on a board and asking CEOs and CMOs of portfolio companies for their lead gen online marketing. So the whole aim here is to really give you, as you know, we've got startup CEOs on the call, we've got venture-backed CEOs and marketing people on the call, we've got marketing managers, digital officers from both agency and enterprise land on the call. So I get asked a lot. Ray and I sit there a lot with companies that have either raised a ton of money. I think we're up to about 108 venture-backed companies we've done work for, which is build websites, spend their money, help them plan. The single biggest question is, in what sequence do I roll out online marketing? And what's hot? What's happening in Silicon Valley? What companies are being used by the top startups? So I wanted to give you some insight today. You know, I guess the first thing that we always say is great content, then email marketing. Don't spend all your money on Google or pay-per-click, and only spend money on Google or Bing or AdWords to test and measure. I see all the time, you know, rookie CEOs, startup teams, as well as new people in digital space spend a ton of money with Google, only to learn that they shouldn't have. And so, part of today will be helping you get off that if you're on, sort of a Google-centric train, if you're, AdWords is crack for digital marketers. And I wanted to share with you some recommendations on what else you can spend your money on to get customers efficiently and cheaply, only pay for those customers when you need to, and hopefully just, create a greater online lead generation efficiency, greater customer acquisition, get more bang for your buck for your dollar. I'll talk a little bit about social content and give some case studies. First and foremost, so what's working? Facebook carousel ads are converting. I would have sat here 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and not thought that Facebook would be a real click to intent environment. I mean, Google is, right? People type in, tailor-made golf clubs, I love golf, into Google. On Facebook, you're really, looking at your friends, circle, photos, sharing. But Facebook carousel ads are 2 to 3 times X cheaper. We're seeing that across a ton of clients. I'm recommending it to all venture-backed, startups and CEOs. Spend a little bit of money on Google, maybe $3,000 to $5,000. Learn what keywords are converting. Get onto Facebook. Run these carousel ads where these multiple images run around. People love them and they're converting. So that's one tip. The other thing to get you off the sort of the AdWords crack or the pay-per-click cost exorbitant prices that, for any of the B2B marketing folks out there, that you're into the $20, $30 for a click in some verticals. Facebook offer what they call lookalike audiences. And if you've not heard of them, highly recommend you find out. So here's a quick snapshot. So what you can do is you can upload a list of email addresses from your own address book, right? From your staff's address book, from your, from LinkedIn, you can upload phone numbers into Facebook, and Facebook will allow you to build an audience. So if those people are on Facebook, and let's say, majority of them do have a Facebook profile, Facebook will build a lookalike audience. So they'll look at those phone numbers, email addresses, match them to the profile, and then they will build a lookalike audience, and you can advertise to others that are like the audience that you already have. So it allows you in a very simple, cost-effective way to amplify it. Now, we know that remarketing allows you to build other, Google remarketing. I was a shareholder of retargeted.com, so we're very aware of it. Google remarketing, ad roll, retargeted.com amplifies people that have come to your website. Facebook will just do that through lookalike audiences, and they'll do it cheaper. Facebook's made no secret about being, extremely diligent in collecting as much information about you as possible, and they're out to make money, right? So, that's one tip that I would definitely take on board. So what am I saying? What are our clients using? What are our portfolio companies using? What are we recommending? We came across this Palo Alto-based company called Criteo last year, and we started recommending it to a couple of our companies because one of our companies is, sort of $100 million e-commerce company per annum. They started using it. So essentially, what happens is people come to your website, they look at a product, they look at a service, they leave your site. And Criteo allows you to send them emails. I mean, their system sends emails with targeted messages. But the cool thing is that you only pay on a CPC basis. So only when people either click on that email that they've received, or you can negotiate other ways. But principally, it's CPC. We've had one SearchForecast client that's increased millions of dollars of sales over 2015. I was actually really impressed. So, and the client, another client that uses them is a SearchForecast client called Great Value Vacation. Big company, based in New York. Beautiful website, it's just been relaunched. But essentially, what would happen? You come to look for a vacation, you go into Peru. You think, well, it's $3,000 or $4,000. I'm not going to buy. So, but I'm interested. Then 1 or 2 hours later, Criteo will send you an email. This is all automatic, by the way. You don't, the vendor or the digital agency, the marketing manager doesn't have to do anything. I won't go into how Criteo's onboarded, the tech, but it's relatively straightforward. Essentially, the user who was on the site gets an email. Now, this is kind of remarketing. We call it dynamic email remarketing, but you only pay when someone clicks on that, the actual email that they've received. So extremely efficient way of acquiring customers. Another company that just on direct mail, another company I came across recently in New York is called Pebble Post. Look, it's a bit old school. Basically what happens is they will programmatically deliver these postcards essentially to deliver it through the post. So I'm looking at a dress, skirt, golf clubs, shoes, whatever. I then, I've got an email address that I've given my details to this company. I'm halfway through the shopping cart. I don't want to buy yet. They will run a system where they'll send you a postcard. It's working. Basically they just match intent to segment. It's, probably another way to look at it is offline shopping cart abandonment solution, but it is programmatic direct mail. Just encourage you to take a look because we've had a couple of clients we've used it for and it works. People get the postcard, they got a coupon code, and then they'll turn around and then go back to the website. I was having lunch with a client last year, Azita Martin, who's now CMO of a software company here in the Bay Area. She had told me she was spending, 6 figures on AdWords on a monthly basis, and she went to this to LinkedIn, these sponsored updates. I'll explain what they are. She increased her spend 10x on sponsored stories over AdWords, which is pretty dynamic change. Let me explain. If you don't know what sponsored updates are, I'm surprised how few people know about them in the startup world. One thing startup CEOs and teams have got is a pretty healthy LinkedIn profile because you usually work somewhere else, or they're, socially active networking. So in your feed on LinkedIn, you will see a sponsored link in StartLogic, which is a company that's raised about $100 million from Andreessen Horowitz here in Palo Alto. I use their example. I know the founder pretty well. They essentially are promoting a webinar, but you can promote images, infographics, PDFs, presentations, white papers, videos. So these sponsored updates appear in the LinkedIn feed of any member on the site. So it's immersive advertising, essentially. It allows people to know about you, for you to capture their details. So it's a nice, LinkedIn's a great environment and relatively inexpensive compared to others. And almost a trusted, we all trust our network. And when we go into LinkedIn, we're not used to seeing lots of pop-ups and banner ads, thank heavens. So in the feed, just look out. People will post a story, share a news article, but also there are sponsored listings. And they work in a really targeted way. You can target by location, by company, by category. And it just works. If you're after chief scientific officers for medical companies or digital marketers in cosmetics, you can target these people. If your sales teams are only in certain states or West Coast, East Coast, you can target by location. Again, quite targeted, but in many ways Google and the other CPC search engines don't allow you to do. And here's just
Mark,
a report.
I just have a quick question from the chat. What is the cost effectiveness on Facebook and LinkedIn as opposed to traditional AdWords spends?
Yeah, good point. Look, LinkedIn's a slight premium, but the quality is extraordinary, right? So you can look at top of funnel, lead gen, you can look at the conversion. Look, Facebook's just cheap. It's just cheap. As Ray, we say to some of the SearchForecast clients, look, work out your CPC, your conversion, on Google, right? Throw $3,000 to $5,000 at it, and then work on other platforms. So it's hard to say, but generally, Facebook's 2 to 3x cheaper than AdWords, and Google and LinkedIn at a conversion level is, in my opinion, much more meaningful than Google. A lot of people click on a Google ad and I fill out a form, but it's not really a qualified lead, a qualified marketing lead, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So, pretty much that's it. Look, just a little bit on SEO. The cheapest form of, why do people do SEO, right? They do it because it's cheap, comparatively, right? We've done a lot of work with some big international clients for many years on building content partnerships, right? You build a website, you spend $50,000, you get some bloggers, they start tweeting, using social media, then what, right? So we've got some long-term clients that we've built some big content partnerships with. And here's an example of House and Huffington Post. So, House is a platform for home remodeling and design. They're in Palo Alto. They've raised a couple $100 million. Most people know about them. They've got about 1 million architects, interior designers that pay them on an annualized basis to create professional listings on their site. But essentially, it's a pictorial search engine for homes and architects, interior designers, etc. Content agreements between companies like House and Huffington Post, they require a little bit of imagination, even if you're a small company. If you are, Bills.com is one of our clients, right? Founder of Bills.com 9 years ago, started writing, at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, he would write articles on credit card debt consolidation, home loan origination, how to get, better finances, and he became known. And then he started syndicating his content. People wanted to, distribute his content. So for all of the folks out there that have a content person on their team, or want to think about SEO at an enterprise level beyond just keywords and links and on-page, off-page SEO, which, the cat's out of the bag. A lot of companies do it. People know how to get it done. Content partnerships are something that you should aspire to. And here's, a lot of these companies are up for it. They do have contributor agreements. So we just signed one for, Ray did, last week for a company, and I just included it in this presentation because I wanted everyone to realize that, these big traffic platforms, they will syndicate your content if it's good, and that can drive links and eyeballs back to your website.
Mark, another quick question on that would be who would be the contact person? How would folks reach out to these types of companies and get these agreements set up?
Yeah, it's typically writing blogs. This company writes their own blogs. They syndicate it out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, etc. The first thing we always do is, Ray, we find those companies we want to syndicate the content to on behalf of clients, right? So we follow those editors, we follow those mastheads, and then we often hashtag in the tweets, so we link back to the article, and then essentially it's the content editors, it's the content assistants. I mean, another way you can do it, everyone, is you go to Google Analytics, you look at your keyword referrers, right, and you find your URL referrers, and you see who's linking to you. You can find that inside Webmaster Tools as well, right? Who links to us, and then you just email them and say, hey, I see for whatever reason you link to an article of ours, a blog, you're looking to our site. Could we put some content up? Could I do a guest post? Could I do advertising? And then for the bigger companies, you're sitting there talking to editors, but you need to have some sort of original thought, right? You can't just We had a client in New York that I wasn't too impressed with because they went out and hired a bunch of, external freelance writers and started writing, content that wasn't really relevant. So, volume and quantity of keywords won't give you great rankings. And then when you get to content partnership conversations, editors and people will realize, oh, this doesn't have any deep, level of expertise, any original thought. So just to counsel you on that. Look, metrics and reporting is something that we're pretty focused on. I'm an analyst by trade, and we have a very quantitative view of the world, both financially as well as traffic-wise. And everything you do and I'm talking about today should be measurable. And I just included this presentation. Look, a lot of startups and just generally, agencies and marketing folks need to get better at reporting. And I just include, this is a client of SearchForecast, and, one of our account managers puts this together for clients on a monthly basis. I think monthly is really good. I think being able to track on a monthly basis, and some of this stuff comes out of Google Analytics. There's a little bit from YouTube, Facebook, Mixpanel, but essentially board reporting, internal reporting on a monthly basis is pretty important. I want to switch a bit to mobile. What we're seeing across 60, 70 clients around the world is in the last 12 months, more users are coming from mobile than desktop. And if you haven't seen it in your world, it's happening. And that's why you'll hear all these, we all know mobile, Facebook's doing 80% of their revenue on mobile. Google's all about mobile. They're all about mobile compliancy and, publishing mobile-friendly pages. Mobile Geddon was a big movement last year where they said, if you're not compliant by April 2015, we're going to drop you off the ranking. But I think just generally, you've got to think about, mobile as a first experience. And what does that mean? So, for us and a lot of the clients at SearchForecast that are retailers, have points of presence, store networks, it's about understanding what people are doing on their mobile phone. And then, if you don't know, Google has has two robots, right? They've got the Google bot for desktop, and then they've got their mobile bot. You can Google and find out and read up about it. But essentially, if you're on a mobile phone, you might get different results depending on your location, because they know the GPS. You'll get different locations than if you're on your desktop. So you can try it. Just type in a search term on your desktop, walk 20 meters away, 50 yards away with your mobile phone, type the same query in, and you get different results. One of the things that we've just said, really simple, practical advice, is the top terms that Google's seeing that's doubled in the past year is words like around me, near me, nearby. So I'm not going to type in, pizza, Redwood City, or plumber, San Francisco. I'm going to type in hairdressers around me because I live in, Brooklyn, right? Because I know where I am. I don't need to tell Google via my mobile phone where I am, because intuitively people know, oh, I'm on my mobile phone. People know where I am. So what we've done steadily, what the engineers have done across a lot of sites, is put these keywords into meta tag, into body copy, into H1s, H2s, page titles, classic standard SEO. This is a great slide that borrowed from one of our account directors, which talks about how you think about keywords for mobile, right? How do I acquire higher rankings on my website in a mobile environment? And so what I wanted to draw your attention to is the purple and the blue, right? So people are often on a mobile phone they want to know how, and they want to know where. Like, how do I find a place? where is this place, right? So I think what's really interesting is that often people don't type in a location specific term, right? As I said before, they're not going to type in hotels New York when they're standing in the middle of, Times Square, right? They might type in, last minute hotels or hotel rooms or 5-star, hotels around me or boutique hotels nearby. And so I think I use this example of a retail store network, but essentially I'm trying to get across here that keywords for mobile are really important, and they don't always include the actual location because users are on their phone. If you don't do it, I do, and increasingly everyone else is doing it, particularly the younger generation. Voice search. Look, we don't really know how to crack the nut on voice search, apart from putting mobile keyword identifiers across sites. Look, we're across a lot of the Facebook Messenger apps. These bots that are being built. Facebook next month, they're rumored very strongly to announce a bot store. There's a lot of artificial intelligence and Facebook Messenger bots that are being companies being funded and around that, and I'm sure that they'll have a lot more integration with voice search. But I wanted to take the time just to bring it up. Let's switch gears to marketing qualified leads. So, unless you've been living in a cave, you've noticed, all these big companies like HubSpot, Marketo, Oracle, Salesforce, Adobe have all acquired a lot of companies. Basically, not just to help acquire, spend money with, have platforms to spend, so clients can spend money, but really to qualify leads. And I just put, if you don't know what an MQL is, and I'm asking our portfolio companies for it, I'm making sure that clients are, requesting their agencies or their internal teams to think about marketing qualified leads, not just, lead generation. And MQLs can be sales prospects which possess certain criteria, right? Like CFOs, we only want companies that are greater than 500 people, as well as interest, right? We want only those that have buying authority or buying or in a particular industry. So let's give some insight into MQL. There are companies here in the Bay Area that I'm aware of, that we have used, that help this sales optimization. They help the top of the funnel. They help you get more qualified leads. How do they do that? They do that by helping you communicate, helping your inside sales teams communicate faster with potential customers. One is a company called InsideSales.com. Another company is called FrontSpin.com. FrontSpin are much cheaper than InsideSales.com, who charge about $5,000. FrontSpin charge about $1,000. So what do they do? What they do is create a new metric for inside sales teams. Not just, I made 100 cold calls a day and I got, 30 voicemails and I got, 5 people on the phone and, I qualified them. These companies are taken to the next level and saying, okay, we will help power dial so they can dial more people. They will automate emails to be sent out. They will automate demos to be sent out, or invitations at least, and they'll track talk time. So this marketing qualification starts at the inbound sales team, the inside sales team, using these new sales optimization technologies. So I encourage you to have a look at that.
Mark, can I just jump in here real quick? I just wanted you to address some of the best practices and the value of coordinating the direct sales and indirect sales channels.
with the continuing content roadmap and how SearchForecast has done that in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think we sit down obviously with the clients. You know, Ray usually takes control, and you know, we do a lot of planning with the clients. You know, this is really under the hood of what some of our techniques are, but you know, the roadmap is relatively simple. We're all about just making sure that clients don't go and spend the easy dollar with the search engines, right? That they're using different gears, right? They're pulling the gear down on sales optimization technology. You know, they're using content, great content, good SEO. You know, obviously beautifully designed websites, but then looking at smarter ways to lower the cost, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, optimizing for mobile. So obviously it's a multi-dimensional approach. So one of the things, reporting's a key thing. If you're a CEO, startup guys out there, you need to think about reporting back to your ventures, capitalist investors, and your board, not just on cost per lead, which if you look at the campaign left-hand side column, you'll see obviously the number of impressions, and that month that company spent $74,000 and their CPL is $221. More importantly, what is the number of qualified leads, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about cost of customer acquisition, and you'll see in the green circle there, for this particular client, the cost of acquisition is almost $7,500. So this is a type of granular reporting that you need to be giving to your investors. One way to think about reporting, which I get asked a lot about, is what's the best way to report? How do I show investors my customer acquisition costs? A great way to do it is just show them how long it takes for that cost to be recouped, right? So this is 8.25 months. If it's $3,000 each customer cost to acquire them, that's going to be somewhere around $25,000 break even, right, over 8 months. So that's a great way to report. Another excellent way to report is looking at the lifetime value of that customer and what the ratio of customer acquisition is. So again, it might take me, from July 2015 to Feb 2016 to break even. So this is really just a break even chart. But again, it shows you what's my revenue, how much did it cost, and when do they cross? Because I think a lot of venture capitalists want to know that. And definitely you as a CEO want to think about, if my cost of acquisition is too high and it's going to push out my LTV, I'm not going to break even for 18, 21 months. You need to do something, A, to your product, improve the product features and benefits, or you need to reduce the cost of acquisition, right? And not have, find expensive media. I wanted to give you an insight into a portfolio company of ours, Swipe, next generation credit card. They I actually did help do this for them a couple of years ago, which is their financial unit economics. It's another way of looking at reporting on long-term value versus customer acquisition costs. A golden rule that a lot of venture capitalists want to see is, and you'll see it in blue down the bottom, the long-term value is 3 times as much as the customer acquisition cost. And in this case, you can see the customer acquisition cost is about $13. You multiply that by 3, let's say it's $42, $43. This particular card is selling for $55. Okay, I already know that the LTV, which is the annualized cost of the subscription to this card, is greater than the customer acquisition cost. It seems easy when you look at it here. When you're actually like building a product, determining cash flow and projections, determining price points, what my revenues are, it's difficult. So having this simple math, financial unit economics, as well as understanding LTV, customer acquisition cost, and then backing it into marketing qualified leads, gives you some sort of funnel visualization from a financial perspective. So I hope that helps. Look, I've pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover today. I know we've gone over a little bit, but if you want to stay around, feel free. I wanted to give you 5-10 minutes on attribution. There's a lot of talk about attribution. You probably heard the term, and I just thought I'd give you a sort of a dummy's guide to attribution, because I get asked a lot, being an ex-analyst and having sort of an insight into Google Analytics, probably a little bit more than most. So what is attribution? A couple of years ago, Google allowed you, inside Google Analytics, to run a report that essentially said, how am I going to attribute the conversions on my website, right? Do I do it via the first click or the last click? Now, what does this mean? Well, it really means who gets the credit for the conversion. So let's say you're, jewelry.com, we've worked with before. They sell rings and pendants, etc. So I want to know, as the digital marketing manager, if I've spent money driving people to check out, is it the banner ad? Is it the email? Is it the Google ad? Is it organic search? Or is it Facebook, LinkedIn, which I'm going to give the credit to the conversion? And so what Google does is allows you to break this down. And you'll see here, there's a real client example, not jewelry.com. You got 60,000 interactions, and that's driven $500,000 purely from organic. You can see paid search drove 45,000. You can see Facebook drove $12,000. So email marketing drove $128,000. So that's just a way of looking at which click can be attributed or credited to the conversion. Now, we found this hack in Google, which was great, because we have a lot of clients that, as you would, have clients or yourselves spending on multiple channels. So how do you actually account for which session drove that conversion, right? So if I've got someone clicking on a banner ad, the next day they come to my website because they type in a direct into their browser. Then the next day they type in organic search, click on a link. Then on the fourth session, they decide, you know what, I'm actually going to buy that TaylorMade golf club. But I saw a banner ad saw a carousel ad in Facebook, and I'm clicking on that to take me back to the website to buy. And so essentially what inside Google, under channels, you'll see up the top secondary dimension, count of sessions. If you filter channels by this for any date range, Google will drop the count of sessions. And you can go through and you can add them up, and you can, with a little bit of work, and this is how we do it. You export it, that file from Google Analytics in a CSV. It will give you what I'm showing you here. And you can go through just simple data sort. You'll be able to find out all the different sessions that drove attribution. So we had a client that said, we're spending $5 million a year on media. We don't actually know how much organic traffic should be credited to selling, to the conversion. And we wanted to know as well. So running this analysis, and you can do it for different channels, but we found that 70% of organic traffic was the first session, the first instance, and 30% or more had greater instances. So essentially it's a way of saying people that come from different channels how many times do they come from that channel to complete a conversion. It's fantastic insight, so I wanted to share that with you. You're going to hear a lot more about this. Google's just launched, Odometry 360. If you don't know what Odometry is, it's basically taking offline media, radio, principally TV, not everyone advertising TV, and marrying that into your Google Analytics. So again, they can say, hey, you watched that TV ad, you heard the ad on the radio, you tweeted something, or you clicked on a Facebook ad, you typed in a Google search, and then you're purchased. And they're going to track that whole journey from offline to online conversion. But it's expensive. Like, this is an email Ray and I got from one of the senior guys at Google a couple of months ago or weeks ago, saying, hey, for attribution, we want people that do 300 spots on TV. We want $60,000 because that's how Google's going to make money out of this advanced reporting. And that's not, fair, because not everyone's a national advertiser and not everyone's got that sort of money. So there are cheaper companies. I found one in Los Angeles called Conversion Logic. I think it's about $5,000 subscription. You might want to check into that. But again, they will give you Google-esque, multi-channel attribution analysis and channel analysis on your media spend. So again, just to finish up, that's a startup that is doing pretty well. Some of our clients are looking at using them. And so if you're thinking about attribution, you can't afford Google, you can use that Google hack through attribution I showed you, through channels and count sessions, or you can, which is free, or you can go to a company like Conversion Logic and talk to them. There's just another slide, and I think that just sort of wraps it up. So Ray, thanks for arranging all this, and thank you to everyone on the call. I hope you found it useful, tactical, practical, and on that note, I'll hand it back to you, Ray.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. If there's any questions, we'd love to see them in the question box. Also, we will have this archived, and we will follow that up with an email to show you where you can listen to that or share it with friends or colleagues. We also love to hear some feedback on our first presentation in this series, as well as ideas for subsequent lunch and learn webinars. And I don't see any questions, Mark, so hopefully everybody was satisfied with the presentation. I thought it was very informative, so I appreciate your time and effort here today, Mark. And
thanks, Ray.
You betcha. And thanks to everyone who joined. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Ray.